It's March 9th, 2026, and I wanted to shoot a video for the channel to celebrate my 6 years of financial freedom. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here right now. I would probably be on my way to work for a bartending shift at my old hotel, which I worked at for about 13 years. So yeah, I just wanted to have the opportunity to kind of tell you a little bit about my story. Started hearing about trading back in February of 2019 through a mutual coworker who had told me that her husband had been making, good money and living off dividend stocks. And I was really intrigued by this. And I had always wanted to get into trading. And I think the thing that kind of swayed me away from it was all the fees. Like, there used to be like a lot heavier fees when you had to put on trades. But it always seemed very lucrative. So when the Robinhood app came along with the free trading, it was like the perfect time for me to get in. So that was the first trading platform that I used. And, I started following my coworker's husband's advice and buying dividend stocks. And, they weren't paying very much. Some of them, maybe 8%, some of them 5%, some of them 3%. So I started accumulating some dividend stocks. And, the returns were small. And being an Aries that I am and being aggressive, I knew there had to be a better way to make faster money. So what I started doing was, paying attention to the trends, more what was going on at the time. And February 19th, 2019, I bought my first cannabis stocks. And cannabis stocks had been rallying previously before that. Such stocks as Canopy Growth, Aurora Cannabis, etc. So I started buying some of those, and then I started day trading Aurora Cannabis because I noticed the same pattern. It would go up 50 cents, come down 50 cents, go up 50 cents, come down 50 cents. So, I just started putting more money into the account. I started, with a couple thousand, and I just kept putting more money in. Kind of just sucked me in. And I started trading with about 30,000. And, I was making money. It was easy. It was like, I was doing some other trades, just trying different stocks, and, it was just up and down. It would just be like, I did some penny stocks and got burnt because, that's what happens. You don't learn till you try to do it. And yeah, so, trading Aurora Cannabis was going good. And then I was doing a day trade. Actually, my friend was driving my Camaro. We were going to Indiana to go to a concert. I said, oh man, this stock is really popping off and you're gonna have to drive my car. So I was like day trading on my phone in the Camaro. And, I made like a couple $100 like in an hour. So I was kind of happy. I was like, oh, this is great, And went to the concert. Then the next day I was like at it again. And then all of a sudden the market dropped a lot. That's when Trump started the China war, the trade war. And I remember my account being down like $1,000. That had never happened to me before. And I wasn't really familiar with like discipline or stop loss. So I just kind of like let it happen, kept my money in there, like most people do, just thinking it's gonna come back. Well, the next day I lost another 1,000. and so on. And it kept just going down and down. So I was kind of in a predicament because I was like, I didn't want to take the loss. Nobody does. Like, you never want to cut your losses short, especially when you first start trading. Just don't understand it. You don't understand the manipulation. You don't understand how the system works, how it's all rigged. And a lot of things that I learned after that was how the manipulation, what happens, and how it's like a game. And you play a game inside of a game. So you're playing their game and you're trying to just kind of guess where they're going to put the market. You know, it's very contrarian, I learned too, and I didn't learn that right away either. No bet was like secure bet. Anything that seemed too good to be true never worked. I remember like getting in an Apple trade and new iPhones were coming out. I was like, oh yeah, this is like a no-brainer. Slam that down. Same with Amazon, like fourth quarter sales. Oh, it's, holiday season, Christmas. How could I lose on this? And like, they would just find some way to slam it down. So yeah, basically I started getting down, I think I was down like 18,000. Still had some money on the table, but I just kept it in there. And then, one day I would say it was probably about 8 months into my trading, I got an email, and it was an options email. It said, oh, if you want to apply for options, fill out this form and email us, and we'll get you trading options. And I was like, okay. I really had no idea how they worked. And a little knowledge, I did YouTube videos. I had been watching YouTube videos every night. I was determined to win. I told my boss at the time, he asked me, where do you see yourself in a year or 5 years? And I said, oh man, I just want to become a full-time trader. I just want to have 100 G's and be able to trade full-time. That's what I told him the same year. And so, I got the options, and basically I just used some more capital that I had in the bank. And I remember the first day I got options is when the Disney Network streaming platform had been announced. And I saw it surging. So I just decided to jump in with like a couple grand, and I bought some calls. Didn't really understand how they worked. I mean, I knew, like, obviously it goes up, you make money. I had no idea about theta decay or how that really worked. So I was buying the calls out like a week or 2 weeks, which is really risky. But yeah, my first trade, I cashed it out like the next day. I was up, I think I made about 2,300. And I was like, wow, and that just kind of put me in the green. Like the first 8 months was up and down, up and down, up and down. Profitable, not profitable, it wasn't frustrating. I was just trying to learn. And so yeah, I finally made like 2,300. So I had more money to play with. And then I ended up depositing more money in my account. I think I deposited like another 10 G's I had. And I was just paying attention to what was going on. And then there was some news with Apple. Did the same thing, bought Apple calls, made a couple grand. I was like, okay, this is like going pretty good. 6 days later, I was I was watching the cannabis. I was already day trading the cannabis. Even after getting burned, I was still, wanting some payback. So I went really heavily into cannabis calls on all the companies. And I managed to make about $6,600 off of all those trades. And I was just kind of astonished at how much money I had made within a week. So I made about 10 grand in a week, and I was in the green, and things were going good. So I started learning more about how calls worked. Just kept watching the videos every night, coming home from work, watching videos. I usually work night shifts and kind of doing some trading during the day. I started a day trade, doing practice trading. just learning as much as I could, and just started learning the mechanics of everything. And then right around that time, you know, all of a sudden, COVID was creeping up. And now I kind of knew what to expect. I kind of had a play in my head. I had been really paying attention to videos on YouTube and watching news reports, you know, just from all over the world and kind of what everybody was saying. But I focused in on watching YouTube videos from China. And it was really bad there. And, you know, it could have been fake, it could have been propaganda, but from what I was seeing, yeah, it was looking really bad. And I was just saying to myself, like, this is gonna hit us. There's like no way, it's not gonna happen. We hadn't even had a case yet, but obviously, you know, there's just no way to contain some kind of contagion of that magnitude that was hitting China. So I just started positioning myself in puts, and kind of saw what was going on, and you know, I was buying puts on like airlines, anything that had to do with travel, even against my hotels, my Marriott hotels. I was buying puts. And once the market, you know, I got some like inside information from Marriott because I found out the executives had dumped their stock, and I had a lot of Marriott stock. And as soon as I found out that happened, I basically dumped mine the next day. You know, it didn't take much of a loss, a minor loss, and then I put all my 401k into bonds. And by doing that, I avoided taking any losses during the COVID shakedown, the lockdown. And I continued to trade. I started buying puts on the cruise ships, Norwegian Cruise Lines, Carnival, and those were the biggest payoffs. Those went down just huge, like those drops every day. I mean, it seemed like, you know, it was dropping like 30% a day. And I just remember like making like 30 grand on one of them, you know, just like pretty instantly, like just the price went up. And then I just started buying more puts on just everything I could think of that would be affected, like by travel, like rental cars, casinos, and you know, it was just paying off. I was doing like credit spreads too. I had learned how to do credit spreads, so I was doing puts against those positions, and also doing like bearish call spreads, and those were just paying out like daily. Like, it's crazy. Like, you know, now I do them, it could take like a couple weeks, but yeah, I was cashing them out because the price was going down so dramatically, you know. So that was easy money, you know, without a lot of risk. But the other puts, you know, I was just making a lot. I mean, it was just, and I did what you're not supposed to do. I just basically went all in, had about 30 grand. And I just went all in on all that stuff, and I just kept it in. It just kept multiplying every day. I mean, 30 grand one day, 40 grand one day, 60 grand one day. I mean, it was just, it was wild. And, you know, it got really big. I mean, I was up over 500%. And then once the market turned, all of a sudden it was like somebody flipped a switch, went from red to green. A lot of those puts hit a brick wall. So, you know, I lost, you know, a decent chunk of change, but I ended up making a 500% return off of that. So if you do the math, it was a very good return. And like, I just continued to do like credit spreads because they seemed to be more like safe for me, like to do less risk since what just had happened. And I got assigned on one cruise line and I sold it back. So that was the first time I ever got assigned on puts. So that was interesting because I didn't really know what happened. It was like something like $5,000 I got assigned on. So I didn't really understand what was happening. So once I figured it out, I just sold them. So I didn't really take a loss in that trade, which was good. And it was amazing that I could, you know, profit off of that. I mean, a lot of crazy things were going on, and around that time, and we weren't working, we were locked down. So I was using those skills to make money, help me survive. And shortly after that, I got into Tesla. Tesla was surging. I mean, it was like a big short squeeze. It was just going up daily. It just didn't stop. It was wild. So I got into Tesla. That was the first time I used margin, and I would never do that again. I took out like 100K in margin, and I had calls. I had massive amounts in calls. And that battery day, if you remember that was coming up. So I figured that was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, Tesla has battery day. This thing's gonna surge. So I sold some calls, and I ended up having to roll them a couple times. And I would roll them up. I'd have to take some kind of loss, but it kept me in the trade. So, and when I was trading, I tried to trade Tesla briefly, and I tried doing a $250,000 trade, and that was wild, man. That was nervous. That was just crazy. And I got in it, and I lost some money. I think I lost a couple grand, and I got out. And I was like, oh shit, I can't do this again. That was wild. And like I said, I would never do that again, after knowing what I know now. And but the trade really worked out. Rolled the calls a couple times, and made about 100 grand on that trade. I lost 50 grand on the rolls, but the good thing how it worked out was I ended up using it as a tax write-off, because I closed those positions out in December of 2020. So it was like writing them off for that year, for all the money that I made during COVID. So that 50 grand helped my taxes. And right after the year turned into January is when the famous GameStop squeeze happened, and AMC. And I had positioned myself in GameStop with some puts, actually, because I was listening to CNBC, which I learned to never do again, because they were saying, oh, GameStop is, it's $50. It shouldn't be up at $50. It's going to come crashing. I was like, all right, I'm going to buy some puts. Bought some puts, and it was weird because the surge of the trade had caused the puts to actually go positive when they weren't positive. It was just really a weird kind of conjunction. And, I kept the money in there. I lost some money, but I got into AMC because that was like the next squeeze. That was a big distraction. So I think I put like 25 G's into AMC, I was up 25,000 the first day I got into it. It was like, I think it was like the day or two before like GameStop squeeze. So I kind of missed the GameStop squeeze. But I did, I was up 25 G's, but I thought AMC would go higher, so I didn't take the money. I just stayed in there. And then the stock crashed, went from like $16 back to like $5. So I was buying heavily at $5, very heavily. I don't know, I just had determination that, from doing the DDD and following the people online, that it would have its second squeeze. So yeah, I just picked up a lot of shares. And I started positioning options out. This time I was going out 6 to 9 months. So I was going out to like June and September of 2021. And I think I put like 30 grand into the options or something, or maybe 25 in one, 25 in the other, like really high amounts. And I was doing prices like way up above the price. I mean, I was doing like $25 calls. I think I did some $50 calls too. So I was really confident that the stock was going to pop. And I was trying to use my discipline and get out of the trade before, like the 30 days before, where the theta ramps up. And June of 2021, I got out of a trade. It was up and down. I was negative, and then all of a sudden it was like positive. I think I was up 5 grand, and then my 30 days had like just come up. So I said, oh, I'm going to take the money because it had been red. So I said, I better just take the $5,000 now and not be sorry later because this thing's going to expire in 30 days. Well, I took the money. And just a few days later is when the rocket hit, when AMC went up to like $70. And I figured out what I would have made if I would have kept that money in that call. I had just missed 380,000 by like a couple days, man. The timing was just like, whoa. But my other calls, I really profited off my other calls. Another banger, another 500% winner. Plus, you know, like it was just, I mean, the amount of money that it went up was just really insane. And I kind of regret not cashing out. I just had this feeling like I wasn't being greedy, but it was just like, it hadn't hit my target. Like I had a certain target of money that I wanted and it didn't hit it. It was close to it, but it didn't hit it. So I was going to stay in it. And that was a mistake because the CEO was just gaslighting us and I didn't know it at the time. A lot of other people got kind of swayed by him and I just stayed in it, you know, hoping it was going to go back up. And I wasn't really buying calls, but I was loading up on shares and yeah, the stock price just kind of collapsed. And then he created that ape share, dividend or whatever. And it was like a reverse split was coming. And I had been through 2 reverse splits previously, like in my first 8 months of trading where I got burned on penny stocks. So I knew what was going to happen. I was like, you never can survive a reverse split. It's never a good thing. There was like one good reverse split in like history. So, I made sure that I got out. I mean, I took a huge loss, but it was like a paper loss. I made a ton of money. I mean, on my calls, I paid off my house in cash. So that was like the biggest thing for me. I was like, wow, I just paid off my house in cash on those AMC calls. It was life-changing. So I made sure that it didn't get down lower than what I needed to pay my house off. So yeah, I did pay my house off in July of 2021. One of the best things that has happened to me. And yeah, so getting out, basically of AMC, I could get out with what I could, which was still like a decent amount of money. I mean, for trading purposes. And so I decided to do the next best thing and get back into GameStop. So I said, I'm going to divert this money. I'm going to put it into GameStop. And that was about, I want to say December. So all that was going on 2021 into 2022. I want to describe, I was just holding the whole year. That was before the ape kind of hit, or around when the ape hit. I just held and I lived off of the interest. Like they were paying me, I loaned my shares out at a ridiculous rate. So I could live off of that money. So like 2022, I just lived off of like loan interest. It was easy. It's never going to be as easy as that. I was just making a ridiculous amount. And so I think I finally got out of it in 2023 is when, I took the loss and then got back in. And then I got a sizable portion in GameStop in December of 2024. And that is kind of where I've been since. I've been trading calls on GameStop and making a living off of it. So, I mean, I've made over 100% of my trading account back. So even if I take a whole loss, I mean, I've made everything back so that I had lost. So it's been doing good for me, but I've also been doing other things like trading gold, credit spreads, and just things here and there. But like, I really love the GameStop community. It's fun, and it's just, Ryan Cohen seems to be doing the right stuff, and $10 billion in the bank, it's not going to go bankrupt. So covered calls, are working out pretty good. Premiums are always high. You can't get those kind of premiums with like Apple or SPY, or different stocks like that. So yeah, things have been going good, and I can still say I'm retired, trade part-time, do the things that I love, and still learning a lot of lessons. I mean, it's a never-ending journey, you know, in the stock market. It's just the manipulation, you know. You see different things like every day. I just can't believe what's going on right now with gold, silver, how it's being suppressed. And it's just, you know, we're in a crisis, and it's like there's like nowhere to put your money except oil, which is, you know, which is crashing today. So I am anticipating maybe a resurgence in the gold, and maybe Bitcoin too. Bitcoin's priming up, and so yeah, I got into crypto recently, like a few weeks ago, and that's a new thing for me. And yeah, I just doing a lot of DD on it, and like dollar cost averaging, and I think that's where it's at. You know, just to have some money outside of the system, especially in these times. You know, we're in war. You know, recession. Just there's a lot of negative factors in the system. So I feel like, you know, it's good to, it's not financial advice. I'm just saying I just feel like for me, it's good to have money outside of the system in a cold wallet where, you know, only I can access it. And yeah, I mean, here I am. And I think I'd like to start making videos again. I mean, if you kind of like my story, you know, let me know. Give me some comments and like my video. I mean, if I get enough feedback, you know, it would give me motivation to do more videos. I mean, it would be great, you know, and I'll do more videos. Like, you know, you'll actually be able to see me next time. Keep it a mystery right now, but yeah, like, hope to see you guys in the next video. Okay. Give me a like, subscribe, give me some comments. Would love to hear about your stories. If you reach financial freedom or you're trying to, and, you know, I don't like to give financial advice, but, you know, I have experience, so I can always like chime in, okay? All right.